Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're going to be digging into First Majestic Silver Corp.
Okay.
It's a mining company, and they've been making waves with their Q3 2024 financials.
Right.
And they also just did this really bold acquisition.
Interesting.
So we're going to be talking about silver and gold and a whole lot of strategic maneuvering
I like it.
to help us navigate these sparkling waters.
Oh,
We have expert speaker. They always spot the most insightful nuggets.
yeah.
Pun intended.
I see what you did there.
So what's the big picture here? What should we be focusing on as we dive into this material?
Well, the big question looming over all of this is, what does the future hold for First Majestic?
Okay.
They're performing well on their own,
Right.
but they're also making this big bet on Gatos Silver,
Oh, yeah.
another mining company. So we need to look at both sides of that equation.
Okay.
Their internal strength and the potential of this acquisition to understand where they might be headed.
I like that approach.
Yeah.
So let's start with First Majestic's own Q3 performance.
Okay.
Their report shows a 4% increase in silver equivalent ounces produced compared to the previous quarter. And their revenue is up 10% compared to last year.
Wow.
That sounds pretty promising, right?
It is. But to really grasp the significance, it helps to understand what silver equivalent ounces means.
Oh, okay.
It's a way to measure the total value of all the metals a mine produces.
Okay.
Silver, gold, anything else expressed in terms of silver.
Gotcha.
So that 4% increase means they're pulling more value out of the ground overall.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So it's not just about how much silver they're digging up.
Right.
It's about the overall value of their production.
Exactly. And when we look at their revenue increase,
Yeah.
it's important to note that this is happening in a market where silver prices have been relatively stable.
Okay.
So their growth isn't just a result of rising prices, it's also coming from increased efficiency in production.
Okay. So they're doing well on their own. But wasn't there a mine,
Yes.
La Encantada, that was having some issues?
Yes. La Encantada faced a temporary setback due to water supply limitations.
Oh, right.
That impacted their production for part of the quarter.
Okay.
But what's important is that they resolved the issue.
Okay.
It highlights how mining operations are vulnerable to external factors,
Sure.
but also how companies need to be adaptable to overcome those challenges.
Right. So they dealt with the problem and kept things moving.
Exactly.
Now back to that 10% revenue increase.
Yeah.
What's driving that? Is it just La Encantada getting back on track?
It's more than that.
Okay.
One of their other mines, Santa Elena, had an exceptional quarter.
Really?
Their operating earnings jumped a whopping 67% compared to last year.
Wow.
That was fueled by higher silver prices. Yes.
Okay.
But also by improvements in their operations that reduce their production costs per ounce.
Ah, so they're making more money per ounce of silver produced.
Exactly.
That's smart business. Anything else stand out in the report?
Something that really caught my eye is their finished goods inventory.
Okay.
They're holding on to a significant amount of silver in the form of coins, bullion, and other finished products.
Interesting.
If they sold all of that today, it would add another $23.8 million to their revenue.
Wow. That's a pretty big chunk of change just sitting there.
It is.
Why are they doing that? Is that normal for a mining company?
It's not typical, no. Most mining companies sell their raw production as quickly as possible to generate cash flow.
Right.
But First Majestic owns and operates their own minting facility, First Mint.
Oh, okay.
So they have the option to turn some of their silver into finished products.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So what's the strategy behind holding on to all that finished silver? Are they just waiting for prices to go up?
That's certainly one possibility. They
Yeah.
could be using it as a hedge against price volatility if the price of silver drops. They're protected because they already have a stockpile of finished goods that they can sell later at a potentially higher price.
So it's like a safety net, but also a potential opportunity for profit if the market moves in their favor.
Exactly.
Interesting.
It also gives them flexibility.
Okay.
They can choose to sell their silver directly to industrial users, or they can mint it into products that appeal to individual investors. That opens up a whole new market for them.
Okay, so this finished goods strategy is interesting.
It is.
But let's be real, it also comes with risks, right? What if silver prices plummet?
Absolutely. There's always the risk that the market could move against them,
Right.
but it's a calculated risk.
Okay.
They're essentially betting on the long-term value of silver.
So First Majestic's Q3 performance seems quite positive.
Yeah.
Strong revenue growth, efficient operations, and a unique approach to managing their silver assets.
Right.
But we can't forget about that big elephant in the room, the acquisition of Gatos Silver.
Right. That's a major development that could have a huge impact on their future.
Exactly. So let's shift gears and talk about that.
Okay.
Why are they buying Gatos Silver in the first place? What's the strategic rationale behind this move?
Well, Gatos Silver owns and operates the Cerro Los Gatos mine in Mexico, which is a significant silver producer. By acquiring Gatos Silver, First Majestic gains control of that mine, along with 2 other promising mining districts in Mexico.
So they're adding to their portfolio and expanding their footprint
Yes.
in a region that's already rich in silver deposits.
Precisely. And this acquisition aligns perfectly with their goal of becoming a dominant force in the silver market.
Okay.
It's all about scale.
Makes sense.
By increasing their production capacity, they can potentially exert more influence on the market and secure their position as a leading silver producer.
Okay, I see the logic there.
Yeah.
But mergers and acquisitions are never simple, are they? What are some of the potential challenges they might face with this deal?
You're absolutely right. Integrating a new company always comes with its own set of hurdles. Think about it.
Okay.
They'll need to merge 2 separate workforces, align different corporate cultures, and ensure that the transition is seamless from an operational standpoint.
It's a lot.
That's no small feat.
And there are always financial risks, too.
Well, of course. They paid a premium to acquire Gatos Silver, and they'll need to make sure that investment pays off in the long run.
Makes sense.
They'll need to optimize the operations at Cerro Los Gatos, navigate permitting and regulatory processes.
Okay.
And, of course, contend with the inherent volatility of the silver market.
So it's not just about acquiring the mine, it's about making sure it runs smoothly, efficiently, and profitably.
Exactly. And there are external factors to consider as well.
Okay.
The global demand for silver, the strength of the Mexican economy, and even political developments in the region could all impact their success.
Okay, so there are definitely risks involved. But let's flip the coin and talk about the potential rewards.
Okay.
If this acquisition goes well, what could it mean for First Majestic's future prospects?
If they can successfully integrate Gatos Silver and leverage the synergies between the 2 companies, it could be a game changer.
Really?
Think about it.
Okay.
Increased production capacity,
Yeah.
a more diversified portfolio of assets, and greater market influence.
Okay.
That's a recipe for potentially significant growth and profitability.
And remember that finished goods inventory we talked about earlier.
Oh, yeah.
Having more silver flowing into their system could give them even more flexibility with that strategy.
That's a great point. They could choose to mint a larger portion of their production, potentially increasing their margins and reaching new customers.
Makes sense.
It really amplifies the potential upside of their unique business model.
Okay, so this acquisition could be a powerful growth engine for them. But what about their sustainability score?
Yeah.
You mentioned that they recently improved their rating according to S&P Global.
Right.
How does that play into all of this?
That's a crucial aspect, especially for a company in the mining industry, which often faces scrutiny over its environmental and social impact.
Yeah, I can see that.
Their improved sustainability score reflects their commitment to responsible mining practices.
Okay.
They're investing in environmental protection, community engagement, and ethical sourcing.
And how does that translate into a competitive advantage?
In today's world, investors and consumers are increasingly focused on ESG factors.
What's that?
Environmental, social, and governance.
Gotcha.
Companies with strong sustainability credentials are often viewed more favorably.
Yeah.
They can attract more investment capital appeal to a wider customer base, and even secure better terms with suppliers and partners.
So it's not just about doing the right thing.
Right.
It's also about doing good business.
Exactly. And in the case of First Majestic, their commitment to sustainability could play a key role in smoothing the integration of Gatos Silver.
Okay.
It can help them build trust with local communities and navigate regulatory processes more effectively.
Okay, so if they're financially strong,
Yeah.
they're making bold moves to expand their market share, and they're taking sustainability seriously.
Right.
It sounds like First Majestic has positioned itself well for the future.
It seems so.
But there's still a lot of uncertainty, right?
Yeah.
How does this all play out?
There are always unknowns, especially in a dynamic industry like mining.
Yeah, true.
The success of the Gatos Silver acquisition is crucial.
Okay.
And a lot depends on how well they manage the integration process.
And we can't forget about those external factors you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
The global economy, silver prices, And the political landscape in Mexico.
Right. Those are all wild cards that could impact their trajectory.
Right.
But what's important is that they're actively managing those risks. They're diversifying their portfolio, hedging against price volatility with their finished goods inventory, and building a strong reputation for sustainability.
So they're not just sitting back and hoping for the best.
Exactly.
They're taking proactive steps to shape their own destiny.
Precisely, and that's what makes them so fascinating to watch.
I agree.
They're a company that's willing to make bold moves,
Yeah.
but they're also doing so with a clear strategy and a commitment to responsible practices.
So as we wrap up our analysis, what's the key takeaway for our listener who's been following along with this deep dive? What should they be watching for in the coming months and years?
For me, it all boils down to execution. Can First Majestic successfully integrate Gatos Silver,
Right.
navigate all the inherent risks of the mining industry,
Yeah.
and capitalize on all the potential opportunities that lie ahead?
Uh-huh.
That's the big question.
Absolutely. It's a classic story of risk and reward. They've set these ambitious goals, and they're taking these calculated risks to achieve them.
The coming months will be crucial as they work to finalize that Gatos Silver acquisition and begin the integration process.
Yeah.
That's where the rubber meets the road.
Right. We'll be watching closely to see how they handle that transition,
Yeah.
how they manage their expanded operations,
Right.
and how they leverage their unique finished goods strategy.
And don't forget about the broader market dynamics.
All right.
The price of silver, global demand, and investor sentiment will all play a role in shaping their future.
It's a lot.
It's a complex equation with a lot of moving parts.
Okay, so for our listeners who might be thinking, should I invest in First Majestic?
Right.
What advice would you give them?
I would say this. First Majestic is a company with a compelling growth story, but it's not without its risks.
Sure.
Do your own research,
Okay.
understand the company's strategy, and carefully consider the potential upside and downside before making any investment decisions.
Sound advice. It's important to remember that we're not financial advisors. And this isn't investment advice.
Of course.
But hopefully this deep dive has given our listener a better understanding of First Majestic's business, its challenges, and its opportunities.
And if nothing else, it's a fascinating case study in how companies are adapting to such a rapidly changing world.
Yeah.
They're embracing innovation, prioritizing sustainability, and making strategic moves to position themselves for long-term success.
Well said. So as we wrap up our deep dive into First Majestic Silver Corp, here's a final thought for our listeners to ponder. With the world facing all these economic uncertainties and geopolitical tensions, could First Majestic's strategic focus on silver, a traditional safe haven asset, give them an edge in the years to come? It's a question worth considering as you continue your own exploration of this dynamic company. Thanks for joining us.